Parshat Balak is a parsha about people who come from the outside, look at the nation of Israel, Am Yisrael, and decide we must curse them, we must erase them. It's the story of powerful, educated men, Balak and Balaam, who try to weaponize words and facts against the Jewish people and find that the curse boomerangs back on them. Balak, king of Moab, looks out and sees the camp of Israel. He's terrified. He sends messengers to recruit Balaam, a famous non-Jewish prophet and sorcerer, to curse the people. He says, Ki yadati et asher tvarech mevorach, ba'asher ta'or yu'ar. For I know that whomever you bless is blessed, and whomever you curse is cursed. Balak believes in the power of words to shape reality. He also believes something else, that the Jewish people are an overwhelming existential threat. Sound familiar? He describes them as too numerous, swallowing up everything around them. Much like in Egypt, where Paro said, Hine am bnei Yisrael rav v'atzum mimenu. The people of Israel are too many and too strong for us. Their very presence becomes a pretext for hatred and oppression. Again, sound familiar? The miracles that Moab has stated about the Exodus, the splitting of the sea, the pillar of cloud and fire, do not soften their hearts. Instead, they say, we must find a way to overcome even that. There's a contemporary echo here. Today, too, we hear educated, influential people speak as if Jews were an enormous piece of the world's population, as if we secretly control everything. In reality, we remain a tiny fraction of humanity, but with a history and impact that feel large. Fear and resentment distort the picture. Numbers are inflated, motives are distorted, and then curses are launched. Political, verbal, sometimes physical, based on facts that are half true or completely false. The Torah and our commentators are very sharp about how dangerous this is, not only for the intended victims, but for the ones who curse. Or Chaim, the 18th century Moroccan Kabbalist and commentator, notes that Balak's own words turn against him. When he says, Arali, curse for me, he's really saying, curse me. His attempt to weaponize Balaam rebounds. His own daughter, Cosbi, later dies at the hands of Pinchas, and Balak himself is eventually killed in the war against Midian. Or Chaim connects this to Tehillim. Chalbon tavo blibam. Their swords shall pierce their own hearts. Those who live by curses and hatred end up wounding themselves. Rabbi Yitzchak Shmuel Reggio, a 19th century Italian commentator known for his rational and grammatical approach, here's a similar message in God's first response to Balaam. When the messengers arrive, God tells Balaam, Lo telech imahem, lo ta'or ta'am, ki varuch hu. You shall not go with them, you shall not curse the people, for they're blessed. Reggio points out that God's command has two parts. First, lo telech imahem, don't go with them. Because even the act of going shows that you intend to side against God's will. Second, lo ta'ol, do not curse them. Even if you stay home, because this is inherently impossible. The people are already blessed by the master of all blessings, who blessed Abraham, Isaac, and Yaakov. God is not a human who changes his mind. Balaam himself will later admit exactly that. You cannot undo a divine blessing with human words. And yet, God does something surprising. After Balaam presses again, God says that he may go with the men. Then in the very next verse, Vayichar af Elohim ki holech hu. God's anger flared because he was going. Well, how can that be? The Sforno, a 16th century Italian commentator and physician, explains that the problem is not the bare fact that Balaam is walking, that he's going. It's how he's walking. The verse stresses ki holech hu, because he was going. Sforno says Balaam goes with his own agenda, as if he is an independent power trying to foil the will of God. He's not being dragged along reluctantly. He's eager and aligned with Balak's hatred. The angel comes lisatenlo, to obstruct him, to show him that his journey is pushing against divine will, and to prevent him from rushing into a sin that would cost him his life. Or Chaim adds a sharp detail. God's anger is about Balaam's enthusiasm. He rises early, saddles his own donkey, like Avram, hurrying to do God's will at the Akedah. But here he's hurrying to do the opposite. He does not even bother to tell Balak's messengers that God only allowed him to go on condition that he speak exactly what God puts in his mouth. The Torah says, Vayelech im sarei Moab. He went with the princes of Moab, which, Or Chaim says, tells you everything. He's with them, on their wavelength, sharing their goal. Don Yitzchak Abarbanel, the 15th century Portuguese-Spanish statesman, biblical commentator, and witness to the Spanish expulsion, reads the story of Balaam through his own experience of powerful Christian rulers plotting against the Jews. He suggests that Balaam imagines a split between two systems: divine providence, hashgacha pratit, and the heavenly arrangement of stars and fate. In his mind, God might bless Israel spiritually, but the stars in history can still bring them suffering, exile, and disaster. Abarbanel says Bilam's plan is to go and look, using his wisdom, for future times when, according to the stars, Israel will be vulnerable, when they may face destruction or exile. Then he can tell Balak about these predicted disasters and earn his payment, believing he has found a way to satisfy both God's blessing and history's cruelty. God's response through the angel and the talking donkey shatters the illusion. The angel stands in the way so that Balaam will learn that En biado ledaber ki im ma sheyirtzeh Hashem. He has no power to speak except what God wills him to say. The donkey's mouth is opened miraculously to show Balaam that the same God who gives speech to an animal can also close or open the prophet's mouth. Abarbanel writes that this whole episode is there to teach Balaam that Atzat Hashem hitakum, God's counsel alone will stand. When it comes to people under direct divine providence, no astrological system, no political calculation, and no well-paid curse can overturn God's protection. Shadal, again, adds that God allows Balaam to go, kedei lefarsim chavato Yisrael, in order to publicize his love for Israel. Not through splitting the seas this time. Instead, God chooses something more subtle, to turn the words of an enemy into blessings. And it works. Standing on the heights, Balaam opens his mouth to curse, and instead says, כי מראש צורים אראנו, ומגבעות אשורנו, הן עם לבדד ישכון, ובגויים לא יתחשב. As I see them from the mountaintops, gaze upon them from the hills, here is a people that dwells apart, not reckoned among the nations. מי מנה עפר יעקב ומספר את רובע ישראל, תמות נפשי מות ישרים, ותהי אחריתו כמוהו. Who can count the dust of Jacob, number the dust cloud of Israel? May I die the death of the upright, and may my end be like theirs. Balaam, the hired cursor, becomes the one who declares that this people cannot be measured the way Balak wants to count them. Balak looks and sees a crowd so large it threatens him. Balaam looks and sees something different. Not just numbers, but a destiny, a moral uprightness he wishes he could share. The very fear of too many Jews is transformed into awe at an indestructible people. Later, Balaam will describe Israel as a lion nation. Hen am kelavi yakum v'cha'ari nasa. Behold the people that rises like a lioness, that lifts itself like a lion. In recent history, one Israeli operation against Iran was called in Hebrew Mivtza Am Kelavi. The operation, a people like a lioness, taking its name from this very blessing. Those who planned to harm Israel ended up facing an Israel forced to rise like a lioness to defend itself and its people. Again, the attempt to curse and destroy becomes the setting in which the world sees Jewish resilience and divine backing. And then comes one of the most beloved verses in the entire Torah, one that we've all sung at one time or another. Balaam looks out at the camp and says, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov mishkenotecha Yisrael. How good are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel. These words, born from the mouth of someone who came to curse us, became part of our daily morning prayers. We recite them when we enter a synagogue, when we gather as a community. In our time, when Jews around the world feel the sting of curses on campuses and media, in the streets, this blessing is a reminder of what truly protects us: the goodness of our tents, the strength of our communities, the way we live together as a people. So, what does Parshat Balak offer us in an age when lies and incitement can spread faster than ever? First, it warns us that hatred often dresses itself in expertise. Balak chooses Balaam because he looks like a professional, a man whose blessings and curses work, a man with spiritual credentials and data about the future. Today, too, we see professors, journalists, influencers, even AI systems present long lists of facts about Israel or Jews. Some true, some twisted, some invented, and out of them build a curse. The Torah's answer is clear. You cannot curse what God has blessed. You can damage, you can hurt, but you cannot erase. Second, it teaches us that those who curse are not free from responsibility just because God allowed it or history pushed them there. Just as the Egyptians were held accountable, even though God hardened Pharaoh's heart according to the Torah, Balaam is held accountable for choosing to go eagerly. Hiholechu, with his own agenda. Divine permission is not the same as divine approval. Having power or a platform or a clever algorithm does not excuse what we choose to do with it. Third, it calls us to live in a way that makes the curses visibly false. Balaam's final blessing, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, is not only poetry, it's a challenge. Are our tents good? Are our communities places of justice, compassion, and holiness? When people look at us from the hills, whether literal enemies or the world watching, do they see something that even if they disagree, they must respect? And finally, it invites us not to be surprised when we are am levadcha yishkon, a people that dwells apart. Being not reckoned among the nations can feel lonely. But in Balaam's mouth, it's a blessing. It means we are measured by a different standard, held by a different promise. Our task is not to win every popularity contest, but to be faithful to our covenant, to our ethics, and to our story. In a world where words are thrown around like weapons, Parshat Balak reminds us that God still has the last word. Curses may rise, but they can be turned in the end into a deeper revelation of who we are meant to be: a small people with a large calling, a lion nation that rises when it must, and tents filled with goodness that no spell and no curse can undo.